Good morning. This is Barry Bryson, and I thank you for joining me again for 5 good minutes in the Word. We are today in John chapter 20, and we're continuing our series Encountering Jesus. And today we're going to finish that first part of our series where we talk about Jesus' encounters with women from the Gospel of John by talking about Mary Magdalene. I think we need to talk about who Mary Magdalene is not before we talk about who she is. Mary Magdalene is not Jesus' girlfriend, and she's certainly not his secret wife, which popular culture likes to make her out to be. And she's not some ex-prostitute, which in medieval times and in Renaissance times, the Catholic Church likes to paint her as. What we know about her is from Luke chapter 8, chapter 8, verses 2 and 3. She was a woman from Magdala. That's why she's Mary Magdalene. Jesus cast out evil spirits from her, and she became part of his regular traveling band of disciples. In fact, several women were in the regular traveling band of disciples that we read from Luke chapter 8. We also know from the Gospels, not just John's Gospel, that she was there at the cross and that she was the first to see the risen Lord. She was the first person to share the message, He is risen. That in itself is significant. Neither Jewish courts nor Roman courts would allow women to give testimony in court. For a woman to be the primary witness to such an event speaks to the fact that the Bible is inspired of God, because a man wouldn't have made this up. He would have told it another way. But this is the truth. Jesus appears first to Mary. She is the first to carry the message. He is risen. Whatever their relationship, we get just the tip of the iceberg, because we know that it's close in a way that we don't know about otherwise from Scripture, and we get that here in John chapter 20. John chapter 20 includes a series of resurrection appearances, people coming to faith by seeing the evidence that they need. And everyone in John chapter 20 needs something a little different. For John, it's enough to look into the empty tomb. For Peter, he has to enter the empty tomb. For Thomas later on, he says, I'm not going to believe if I don't see the wounds and put my fingers in them. Mary has to hear Jesus speak her name. And she does. We do too. Mary was standing outside the tomb weeping, and so as she wept, she stooped and looked into the tomb. And behold, two angels were in white sitting there, one at the head and one at the feet, where the body of Jesus had been lying. And they said to her, Woman, why are you weeping? And she said to them, Because they have taken him away, my Lord, and I don't know where they've laid him. And when she said this, she turned around and she saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't know that it was Jesus. And Jesus said to her, Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking? Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you've laid him, and I'll take him away. And Jesus said to her, Mary. And she turned and said to him in Hebrew, Rabboni, which means teacher. It really means more than that, you know. And Jesus said to her, Stop clinging to me. I've not ascended to my Father yet, but go to my brethren and say to them, I ascend to the Father, my Father, and your Father, my God, and your God. And Mary does that. She thinks Jesus' body has been snatched. And she thinks that when she sees the angels and doesn't recognize them as angels, and Jesus and doesn't recognize them as Jesus, and we shouldn't be surprised at this. She's not expecting it, and her eyes are filled with tears. And Jesus says her name, and then she knows. And in the Greek text, it's an amazing effect. It's almost like playing a recording, because you read along in Greek, and she's called in Greek Mari, which is the Greek version of that name, Mari this and Mari that. But when Jesus speaks it, we have it in Aramaic. Jesus says Mariam, one word, Mariam. And she says back to him in Aramaic, one word, Rabboni, which is a possessive and a diminutive. It's not just teacher, it's my teacher. And it's not just my teacher, it's my literally my little teacher, my beloved teacher, my own special one, my teacher. And Jesus says something I don't fully understand, but I get the gist of it. He says, our earthly relationship is not what you cling to. I'm going to the Father, and He's my Father, and He's your Father, and you need to tell that to the disciples, which He does. I don't know that we're going to be able to plumb the depths of everything that happened here because it's between two people, but we are shown it. We get to see it and we get to hear it with our own ears. I hope that we have the same relationship with Jesus as Mary had and call Him our own special teacher as well. Thank you for joining me for 5 good minutes. We'll pick up with another encounter next time we're together.